Okay, now let's create the body of our dove. Take pipe cleaner, the color really doesn't matter, it will be all covered in wool. Now you can use smaller pieces of wool or take a longer piece like this from your carded bath, and you have to wrap your pipe cleaner completely in the wool. Start at one end and you can either twist your pipe cleaner and hold your wool still, or other way around. We are just making the core of the body now. It doesn't have to be neat and it doesn't have to be wrapped really tightly. The main idea is just to create some bulk around the pipe cleaner. You can secure the loose ends of the wool pieces by felting them down. I'm using a 38 star needle here. Once the pipe cleaner is completely covered in wool, you just take it and fold it in half, just like this. Hold the fold in one hand and twist the loose ends until you get one piece. And again, you don't have to twist super tight. We are just trying to tangle everything together, and actually some air between the fiber is very welcomed. Some fiber came loose while twisting, so I'm again securing it with just a couple steps. Now we are adding more bulk by taking another strip of wool and wrapping it more tightly around the whole piece and felting it down if needed. I decided to start this project this way just to get less felting involved, and also we are keeping more air in between the fibers this way, just using the wrapping technique, so our dove will have airy, more fluffy center and it will keep it more lightweight. And that's especially important if you're using it as a tree topper or Christmas ornament or just hanging decoration. This little piece will create the base of our body. The bulkier end will be the head and the other end will be the tail. Now we have to build some bulk around it. To make the head more round, I'm taking a piece of core wool and wrapping around this end. The head will be just about 3 centimeters wide. Now I'm taking my needle and trying to round it up. In order to do that, I'm changing the direction of my needle all the time. I'm always watching my fingers just to keep them safe, and I'm using a 38 star needle here. When it's done, it's time to bulk up the body. I'm taking some longer piece of wool and using it to measure the chest and tummy area from my body. I'm placing this piece of wool onto the felt mat and felting it down. We are now creating something like a fluffy cloud to attach to the body. It will be way easier to build it this way. To give the cloud a little bit of bulk, I'm adding more wool in the center of this piece. As you can see, I'm trying to keep the edges as thin as possible. It will make it easier to blend. Okay, now I'm aligning it with my body. As you can see, I'm not placing it just next to the head. I'm leaving some part out for the neck and taking some wool off just to make sure there is a tiny fluffs blending in the neck, not creating this dramatic edge you can see now. It will be nightmare to blend. So I'm just laying it down and attaching it using my 36 spiral needle and later moving on to my 38 spiral. At this stage, I'm not really worried about making the surface smooth. I'm just attaching everything and we will smooth it all out later. And now we need similar clouds for the sides. I'm taking another piece of wool and measuring the side. It will be a bit shorter than the tummy and chest piece. But the main principles of creating this cloud will stay the same, just try to keep the edges fluffy and light. This cloud is not symmetrical. As you can see in the reference photos, doves do have a little more bulk at the tail end, so I'm creating it accordingly. When I feel like this cloud is done, I'm creating another one right away, making it in a similar shape and in similar size, as close as I can. This will ensure that both sides of your dove will be symmetrical and your proportions will be more balanced. The clouds are felted together good enough to hold its shape even after some pulling, but they are still fluffy, so it will blend with the body very easy and create really smooth shapes. Now the placement of the side clouds is really important. You have to place just a tiny amount above the backbone part and leave the most of the cloud at the bottom. You can see how it overlaps the body here, because this will fall to the tummy area and the chest area and will make a round, natural shaped body. As you can see, I'm folding it over here and just felting it all down. Now do the same for the other side. When that's done, it's time to make the surface more smooth. I'm using multi-needle tool with 340 gauge needles and keeping my steps pretty shallow. And again, the tail end is really bulky, so I'm taking my 38 spiral needle and pointing it towards the body and making this end more bulky and round. Okay, now this is the initial shape. As you can see, it's pretty squishy, but it's felted quite well at the outside. Now we have to add some more bulk to the chest. And sorry for my little cat paw on the left side, he just refused to move. So doves tend to have some pretty pronounced chests, so we have to create a new cloud for this. It's completely the same process as before. This time I'm creating it really fluffy and really bulky. And I'm attaching it like this. As you can see, it exaggerates the chest and a little bit the tummy area. Here is the final shape. As you can see, there's flatter side at the chest and tummy area. The neck is nice and round, and the head now looks a bit oval, but don't worry about that, we will add some bulk in the future. Also note the curve at the sides, it will help with attaching the wings. The final step is covering this shape with some white carded wool. Again, I like to work with small bits and make sure that the edges will blend with the body beautifully. I'm also using multi-needle tool with 340 gauge needles and keeping my stabbing quite shallow again, just to attach this wool to the surface. Here is how I'm laying the wool on the head. I'm making sure there are no folds that would make extra bulk that is not needed. And that's it, your body is done. Now let's move on creating some wings and tail.